little while ago, and it's a clip involving Logan Paul. Now, I haven't actually talked about Logan that much on my channel because really the drama that goes on that side of YouTube just isn't my concern. I could care less about the Paul brothers. I could care less about their YouTube house. Like, I really just don't. None of it concerns me. But if there's one thing that I do have to say, the longer things go, the more just kind of not really great I feel towards Jake Paul. He seems to do more stupid shit. And if you ignore, like, you can't really ignore the corpse thing that happened with Logan Paul. But aside from stuff like that, I've seen more positive things come out of Logan recently than Jake. Now, this is just based off of the stuff that I see in my feed, not necessarily me doing any deep dives on these individuals, because I just don't care. But I did see this interaction, and I actually wanted to talk about this because it's kind of neat.
Bring back manly men? Because Harry Styles wearing a dress in a field? So my question is, like,
it ain't manly, bro.
All right, so let's begin. Let's begin with the bring back manly men thing. This is the first time I get to talk about the Harry Styles thing that happened recently, which really all it was just modeling dresses, right? Just a guy modeling dresses, modeling effeminate clothing, and honestly, probably emasculating a lot of other dudes in the process because he's so confident when he does that. So, what are my thoughts on that? Honestly, I don't care. I mean, really, I'm decently trans positive on my channel to begin with, so if you think that my hot take was going to be that I think that a dude shouldn't wear a dress, I don't. That's not my take. A dude can wear a dress, girl can wear a dress, dude can wear pants, girl can wear pants, NB can wear pants, NB can wear dress, anything in between, I don't care. Anyone in between, I don't care. You do you, rock it, perfectly fine. So, this dude over here, it's just not manly, dude. It's just not manly. And then Logan fires back.
Bro, why? What
ain't manly.
What is manly to you? What does it mean? Is manly like being comfortable in your own skin and being comfortable with who you are?
True. And I want to talk about this for a second here. What is more manly? Let's just say being manly is positive. Let's just say that it encompasses all these positive traits of a male figure. That's what manly is supposed to be to you. Let's just go with that right now for fun. What would be more manly then? What would be more positive? A guy going, I gotta make sure that my shirt is up to here. I can't do a V-neck. I got to make sure that my pants aren't so baggy that they look like a skirt. Because if I don't, people will think that I'm wearing women's clothing. I got to make sure that my hair. Now, granted, this is weird because my style is generally, shirt, somewhat loose-fitting pants, and then shorter cropped hair. But what is more manly? What is more positive? A guy who is so absolutely emasculatingly scared of what other people are going to think about him, about what other people's opinions are about him, versus somebody who is so confident in themselves that they can wear just about anything and be perfectly fine. Because they are comfortable in their own skin. They are confident in themselves. I like Logan's take here. I do. Because at the end of the day, if we're gonna live in this delusion that manly actually has any objective meaning, and it's supposed to be this like amalgamation of positive traits, then one of those positive traits should be being comfortable in your own skin and not being so terrified that other people are going to think something differently about you.
Regardless of what people
I also like the Pokemon card there.
think about what you're wearing.
I get that, and I understand it's okay to venture out and try new things and do.
That's not a venturing out and trying new things. Somebody might venture out, try a new thing, and realize they like it. Realize they can rock it. That's not venturing out and trying new things at some point. That's just being fucking comfy. That's just being comfortable. I remember when I was in high school being terrified of getting something like a Snuggie. I never got one, but as an adult, I want one now because the idea of a blanket that I can just like sit back in my chair with and still do all of my stuff for, that is economical as shit. That is great. But I remember making fun of people who had Snuggies because I had a couple of friends who had them. And it was the butt of jokes, like, oh, you have a Snuggie? You wore that thing that looks like a bath towel but backwards? You're less of a man. You're less of a person. If somebody had like a lisp in their voice, we would just make fun of them and say you sound gay. Stuff like that. I remember doing that as a child. As a child. You don't have to do that as an adult, though.
Do things, and I think it's great for people not to judge other people, but
Yeah, man. Just like you are now.
Okay,
Hold on a sec.
Hold on.
I like this freak out. People should be able to do this without people judging them. Yeah, they should. Kind of like what you're doing right now. You're judging them right now. That's what you're doing. And then they get mad.
He can also have his opinion.
Why are you getting combative? The
Because
idea.
you guys are making this something it's not. You're the type of people that will look at it and are like, no, men
listen.
gotta be men and they can't wear dresses.
Listen,
None of us
Suck
said
a dick, bro. I would do this in a heartbeat.
no one
No one said
that.
I wouldn't do it. No one said he didn't do it.
No one said that. The notion of it, the idea of it, and the idea of him donning a magazine dress in a dress elicits a conversation.
What conversation? What conversation has to be had at that point besides this person was comfortable in their skin, so we just accept that? Like what is the conversation besides that right there? I think that's it. Like the conversation just begins in the dude wore a dress. I don't think there's much of a conversation to be had at that point. Like that's it. A person chose to wear an article of clothing. Stop the presses, I guess.
And it's a conversation.
The problem is people are too quick to get angry like you. You get angry at our opinion.
And
Nobody's okay. So there's nothing wrong with getting angry at a bigoted opinion because tolerance of bigotry is just more bigotry. This is the intolerance paradox. If you are tolerant of intolerance, it is just intolerance because the amount of tolerance in the world it's still diminishing. There's nothing wrong with pointing out that somebody has a bigoted opinion and going into that bigoted opinion and trying to point out, hey, there's an issue with this. And Logan getting upset there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly valid response.
I think
that's not fair.
What am I angry about?
You got really quick to get mad at me and Mike
When?
immediately. There's no conversation. You just got mad.
No, he's not really getting that again, the bits of anger, the indignation are perfectly valid, but he's not like snapping at them. He's not telling him to shut up. He's not doing any of that. He is getting a little upset, yes. But that's perfectly fine. I don't see anything wrong with that in a conversation like this.
Immediately.
I'm listening to you, telling me you don't want to judge people, and then watching you judge people. So yeah, I'm listening. And
no one's judging
I'm not
anybody.
getting angry, but
Nobody's
me
judging
calling you
anybody.
out for your flaw,
So now I have a
And-
flaw
and-
for my opinion.
your lack of
So it's a
logic.
So
When you-
my point of view is a flaw.
your
I
la-
never even said your point of view is a flaw. See what I'm saying by you being angry? You just
I-
insulted me.
Wait, he said he how was he insulting?
listening. And
No one's
mind you,
judging
I'm not
anybody.
getting angry, but
Nobody's
me
judging
calling you
anybody.
out for your flaw.
But he literally judged. That's exactly what he engaged in. He engaged in judgment before that. That's exactly what happened.
So now I have a
And-
flaw for my opinion.
It's not you're not flawed for having an opinion. It's that your opinion is a bigoted opinion, and therefore that is a flaw. Just having an opinion, that's not a flaw. But this is what happens a lot. I've had this happen with conservative family members before, where the conversation ends with, well, everybody has their own opinions. And it's like, yes, everybody has their own opinions, but in this particular conversation, I feel as though yours is just wrong. And this whole I just have an opinion bit is, I don't want to say cowardly, but I kind of want to say cowardly. It just feels like a way to back away from a difficult conversation, which shouldn't even be difficult in the first place. The conversation literally begins and ends with dude had his dress. So what?
Your lack of logic.
So
When
my point of view is a flaw.
It is a flawed point of view, but your point of view is not a flaw. That is... I don't think that's a deliberate twist of language, but it could be.
I never even said your point of view is a flaw. See what I'm saying by you being angry? You just insulted me.
How is that an insult? How is pointing out that you're wrong an insult? If being wrong is something to take as an insult, then nobody can ever engage in any level of self-correction ever. It is impossible to correct one's own views if being wrong is something to be insulted by.
Do I look angry to you? And do you know what assault means?
Well,
I'm telling you that your lack of logic will lose you the argument when you say, yeah, like people shouldn't judge people, but like he's not a man because he's wearing a dress.
No, never once did I said he's not a man for wearing a dress.
You said it's not manly, right?
You said it's
So
not
in the
manly.
same vein,
I
would you
said
say?
it's not manly.
Right.
I did not grow up where I walked around watching men wear dresses. Now,
So? That's literally just an argument from antiquity. That doesn't matter. I didn't grow up seeing men wear dresses either, but who the fuck cared? I didn't I didn't grow up in a world where adults routinely played video games outside of like my dad and a handful of others, and then suddenly I was playing things like World of Warcraft, and there were adults playing. And then as an adult, I play video games, and people who I grew up with still play video games. So I now live in a world where the adults are routinely playing video games and buying video games, which was not the norm when I was growing up. There's nothing saying that the norm when you were growing up needs to be maintained. Culture shifts, dude. It's pretty fucking normal.
that is my upbringing and my surroundings. It wasn't my choice, and it wasn't the way I wrote it.
Okay. You don't have control over your upbringing and your surroundings, but you do have control over how you address those situations now as an independent adult. Is that just a thing that gets lost on people?
But you can't get mad at me if me and Mike are like, we don't see it.
I mean, he can. That's as far as the clip goes. He can get mad at you for that, though. It's perfectly reasonable. But even then, like the level of anger that came from Logan Paul during that was minuscule, tiny. More indignation than anger. Again, I've said it multiple times, and I'll say it again. I think that the conversation begins and ends with a dude wore a dress, so what? If you want to carry the conversation past that, okay, yeah, dude's probably going to emasculate the shit out of you because your version of masculinity, your idea of masculinity is so fragile it can be shattered by an article of clothing. Your view of masculinity is so frail that merely donning a piece of cloth that instead of having two separate pant legs has one and it flows, that person is emasculate. That version of masculinity is so frail. It is so fragile. And if your version of masculinity is so fragile that it can be shattered by something as weightless as a piece of fucking clothing, I can only say, what positives are there to your idea of masculinity? What is there? I, as a male, I am both gendered and sexed as a man. What reason is there for me to try to conform to your idea of masculinity if your idea of masculinity literally looks like weakness to me? What reason do I have to engage in the kind of victim mentality required to espouse that? That doesn't make masculinity look positive to me. That doesn't make it look like something I want to aspire to. It makes it look like something I want to discard. In either case, if it is so fragile that a piece of clothing can destroy it, then it's not strong enough to stand on its own, get the fuck rid of it, and then the piece of clothing stops mattering, or the piece of clothing can magnify that masculinity because the person is so confident in their masculinity to begin with. Either way, you lose by taking this victim stance of the dress is bad. That's where you end up sitting, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this clip, because it's not so much that I care about Logan Paul. I don't. But I do see a conversation like this as an interesting one to analyze. Because you have one person who's saying pretty much exactly what I think, which is, dude, why does your idea of masculinity matter to somebody else, to another person who isn't you? Again, this comes back to the whole masculinity being frail bit. But that's it for that one. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Hit the bell notification icon. You'll see when stuff goes live. You'll see when I go live. You know, all that other fun things. And there's also an affiliate link down there. If your masculinity is strong enough to accept getting a dildo for your partner, maybe go to ddlgplayground.com and use coupon code /Suris. That's all in the description below. That coupon code will give you 10% off, and it helps me out as well, helps the channel out. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. You can get the dildo for yourself, and you can go sodomize yourself. That's perfectly fine.